Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Decode Prelims Previous Year Question, and I hope these episodes have helped you to develop new skills that will help you to get good marks in prelims. It has opened up a new dimension of how to approach prelims exam, and it has helped you to develop new lines of thought. Now in this episode, let us continue with question 76 to 100 and finish off the question paper of 2025 and understand at the end what are the requirements needed to actually succeed in any UPSC prelims exam. So I hope you are ready guys, let us get on with it. Alright, let us solve this question. Again, I consider this question as very difficult question. We know what is the relationship between longitude and how longitudes are used in order to calculate the time, but look at this question is very specific. Let me read out the question first. Consider the following countries: United Kingdom, Denmark, New Zealand, Australia, Brazil. How many of the above countries have more than 4 time zones? Look at the specificity. Whenever the question is very specific, the answer becomes very difficult. A, all the 5, B, only 4, C, only 3, and D, only 2. Okay. Now, again, such questions you should know it very well. Otherwise, please don't try to attempt it using your common sense. Some people, what they think is, the larger the horizontal extent, the greater is the time zones. That is one logic that you can apply. But be very careful, because these countries, they will have overseas territories, and these overseas territories will have their own time zones. So you have to take into account the overseas territories when you are accounting for these countries, and that is what makes this question even more tricky. So to just give you the answer, United Kingdom overall has 9 time zones. Look at this, though it is a very small island nation, because of its overseas territories, it has 9 time zones. Denmark has 5 time zones, New Zealand has 5 time zones, Australia has 9 time zones, Brazil has 4 time zones. So overall, how many of the above countries have more than 4 time zones? The answer here is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the answer here is B, only 4. Okay, overall, it is not like I knew the answer after this question was asked. Even I then went ahead and studied about it and got to know. Okay, but from the exam's perspective, what are the things that you have studied with respect to time zones? These are something that is very important. See, if you take time zone, longitude, okay, longitude plays a very important role. That is one. Then there is something called Greenwich meridian. This Greenwich meridian is also called prime meridian. Okay, so basically if you take the earth like this, that 0 degree longitude is what is the prime meridian or Greenwich meridian. So from 0 degree, we go to 180 degrees to the east, and we go 180 degrees to the west. So this 180 degrees east and west is one and the same, because the earth is geoid. If you go from 0 degree, you go from east or west and you go and meet the same point. So 180 degree east and 180 degree west is the same point. So overall, you have 360 degrees. Okay, so 360 degrees is one rotation. For one rotation, the earth takes around 24 hours. So if the earth takes 24 hours for one rotation, then you will approximately get in 1 hour 15 degree longitude. 15 degree longitude. And if you work out more, you will get that 1 degree longitude is equal to 4 minutes. Okay, so this is overall basics part that you should know. The next is, if you take India, we have one time zone, and that is around 82.30 degree east longitude. Okay, 82.5 degrees east longitude. Okay, and you should understand that if you take from a prime meridian, from 0 degrees, if you take 82.5 degrees east longitude, so we are 82.5 degrees east of 0 degree, that is prime meridian. So we will always be ahead of time. So we are 5.5 hours ahead. Okay, we are 5.5 hours ahead. That is, if it is 1 p.m. in along the prime meridian, then along India the time will be 6:30 p.m. The time will be 6:30 p.m. Okay, so this is overall the idea about the time zone. But when they ask you such questions where the question is very specific, it is a little difficult for us to know this. So it is okay. So it doesn't mean that you go and try to build depth on this. Because time zone is not a recurring theme, please don't build depth on this. This is fine. They are asked like this, know the basics and then move on. So the answer for the 76th question is B, Only 4. Okay guys, let us look at this question. Again, this question is considered very easy and you should get such questions right every time. 10 out of 10 times when you solve, you should be getting this right. That shows your strength in basics. Let us read out the question first. Consider the following statements. Anadir in Siberia and Nome in Alaska are a few kilometers from each other, but when people are walking up and getting set for breakfast in these cities, it would be different days. When it is Monday in Anadir, right here only, Anadir is in Siberia. When it is Monday in Siberia, it is Tuesday in Nome. So Nome is in Alaska. Okay. If you feel that you will get confused, just write here Russia and this is USA. Okay. Now, which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. Okay. You should try to work it out very quickly. If you have the concept of international date line, it becomes very, very simple for you. Okay. As I told you that, let us say that if this is Earth, I told you that this is the 0 degree line. Okay. If I go like this for 180 degrees to the east, or if I go like this 180 degree to the west, I am going to go exactly the opposite to this longitude, and that longitude is what is called as 180 degree line. And that 180 degree to the east or west, this line is what is called international date line. And if you observe carefully, international date line is not a straight line. They have done like this. Okay, it is curvy. The reason is because the international date line decides the date. Okay, if a nation falls on international date line and the date line divides the nation into 2 parts, then that one nation itself will be in 2 different dates. That's why what they have done, they have made sure that the international date line will not pass through any nation. Okay, so for that, you'll always see the international date line being curved. But anyways, the question, let us understand the question now. So you understood what is international date line. So if I go back to the board and if I try to show you in the form of the world map, because you need the diagram to understand that, let me just quickly draw the world map to show you how the international date line works. If I explain it through the diagram, it becomes very easy and simpler. And people who have just read the literature or English language, you will not understand the concept. That's why you should always use diagrams to understand the concepts. That becomes simpler as well as the retentivity increases. And even if they ask you anything that is a little tricky, you will be able to identify it. Okay. So, all right. So now what I've done the world map in such a way that you can see that I will draw the international date line. Look at this. This is the international date line. This is the international date line. Okay. As I told you, if I fold the earth as a circle, these 2 points will meet. Okay. This is nothing but 180 degree line. Okay. This is nothing but 180 degree line. Both 180 degree east and west are the same line. Okay. So that is what is known as international date line. Okay. So if you take the world map, this is the world map. This side is the east. This side is the west. You know that very well. Okay. So we know that the sun rises in the east. Okay. When the sun rises in the east, that means the day will always begin this side. Okay. The day always begins this side. And as it goes to the west, see, the day will begin later on the west. So the day begins first here and then the day begins later here. Look at this. Why? Because the sun rises in the east and moves to the west. So I hope you understood this. Now look at this. When I say the day starts here and the day becomes later here, that means the same day start, I can write here only. The day starts here and the day becomes later here. So this side, that is, this side is the east. The east will always be a day ahead. The west will always be a day minus, because when it is a day ahead, then the day will start here and then go like this to the west. So I hope you understood this. So this is what is the conceptual clarity that you should have. Now understand that this side is Siberia and this side is Alaska. So here is where they use that Anadir and Nome. Okay, let us go back to the question. Look at this. Anadir in Siberia and Nome in Alaska are a few kilometers from each other, but when people are waking up and getting set for breakfast in these cities, it would be different days. Yes or no? It would definitely be different days because both these regions are in either side of the date line. If both were on one side of the date line, then they would have been the same days, but because they are on the either side of the date lines, yes, they will have different dates. So the first statement is correct. Let us go to the second statement. The second statement is, when it is Monday in Anadir, it is Tuesday in Nome. Understand this? When it is Monday in Siberia, it is Tuesday in Nome. Let us come back here. When it is Monday when it is Monday in Siberia, okay, let us come here. When it is Monday in Siberia, okay, here in Alaska, when I say Nome, it is in Alaska. They are telling it is Tuesday. It should be -1. If it is -1, it should be Sunday. So this Monday, the day starts as Monday in the east. Let us say come here. The day starts as Monday in the east, and that day that starts as Monday in the east will then come here. Okay. So it has just started as Monday. That means that side it's still Sunday. Until this goes later this side, it is still Sunday here. That is what it means. Okay. So if it is Monday in Siberia, okay, obviously it should be Sunday in Alaska. Okay. So let us go back to the question now. So if you look at the question, when it is Monday in Anadir, it is Tuesday in Nome. This is wrong. Okay. This is not Tuesday. It is Sunday. So the second statement is wrong. The first statement is right. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The answer is A, one only. So this is how you have to understand any concept. It may take time, but if you understand this way, you will never forget. And second, whatever tricks that they may give you within the question, you will be able to answer. So I hope you understood this concept. Okay, let us look at this question. Again, very simple and straightforward question. Most of you people will get it right. Who among the following was the founder of self-respect movement? A. Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. B. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. C. Bhaskar Rao Jadhav. And D. Dinakar Rao Javalkar. Okay. Again, everyone will know the answer is Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. Okay. Now, whenever you come, especially in history, it will always give you scope to learn some facts about the personalities. So, whenever you go to the previous year question in history, not in everything, in history, just go through these names and see if you can find some facts and add it in your notes. That has more probability that it can overlap. Many people will start doing for all the questions. I would not advise it. But for history, you can definitely do it. For example, Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. Whenever I say this, automatically you should go, your mind should know these things. Vaikom Satyagraha. Okay, then you have obviously self-respect movement. Then you have leadership of the Justice Party. Leadership of the Justice Party. Okay, the next, if you say B.R. Ambedkar, you should know B.R. Ambedkar, the most famous Mahad Satyagraha. Okay, he formed the Independent Labour Party. Independent Labour Party. He also was a member in the Viceroy's Executive Council from 1942 to 1946, especially Labour member. He represented the labours. He has written many works like Annihilation of the Caste, Who Are the Shudras. So some facts that I can remember on Ambedkar. Bhaskar Rao Jadhav, not much information I have, but he basically was, he led an anti-Brahmin movement in Kolhapur. Okay. Dinakar Rao Javalkar has written a very famous work called Desache Dushman. Desache Dushman, which means enemies of the nation. Okay. So these are some facts. What I'm trying to tell you is, whenever you come across any personalities, try to know a few facts. Don't try to overdo it. Try to know a few facts that can help you to eliminate an option in the future exams. That's all. Just know a few facts. So overall, the question is straightforward. Who was the founder of the self-respect movement? It is Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. So this is about the 78th question. Alright, let us look at this question. It appears factual, but always when you're going to the exam, you should know the leaders or the highest reserves or the largest production. These are some things that you should know. Okay, let us look at this. Consider the following pairs. You have country, you have resource rich in. Okay, Botswana, diamond, Chile, lithium, Indonesia, nickel. In how many of the above rows is the given information correctly matched? Okay, see, one thing is resource rich in. Usually they will be rich in, they are not even giving highest reserves, they are giving resource rich in. Okay, that should give you a hint that this is a very broad term. But overall, the answer here is all the three. Now again, look at the option, they have purposely given C, not D. So don't by default mark it D and come thinking that all the above is in D. Okay, be very careful. But now, consider the following pairs. This is there. What I told you, what is the learning from this is, You should know the highest, the largest, the best, the leaders. These are some things that you should know. Okay. Where do you get this is when you're solving papers. You will always get in the synopsis any concepts where there are leaders, where there is highest, where there is largest. So then make sure that you cut the table and keep it so that when you go to the exam, you can revise and go. All right. For example, let us say that if you take largest reserves, first let us say chromium. If I tell chromium, Kazakhstan as the largest reserve. If you take uranium, this also Kazakhstan as the largest reserve. If you take copper, they have given copper already? No. Copper, Chile. See, lithium, resource rich in Chile, but copper, it has the largest reserve. The next is manganese. You have China. The next is, let us say, bauxite. You have Guinea. The next is, let us say, nickel is already there, Indonesia. The next is molybdenum. Okay, again China. So like this, whenever you take a group of minerals, for example, next, 7th one, silver. The highest reserve is in Peru. Okay, like this. Whenever you come across different minerals, create a table of only the largest reserves. And UPSC will only play around with them. It will not try to play very, very tricky questions here. Whenever the question appears difficult, it is mostly easy. So keep that principle in your mind. So here, though the question is appearing difficult, it is mainly the larger reserves side of the countries that they are asking. So here, the answer here is all the three is correct. So I hope you understood this. The learning is to create a database of all the largest, highest and leaders. Okay, all right. So this completes the 79th question. The answer is C, all the three. Okay guys, let us look at this question. I would consider this question as a little difficult. Why? Because it is very specific and there is no scope for logics or lines of thought. The question is pretty specific. Look at this. Consider the following pairs. You have region, you have country. You have Mallorca, Italy, Normandy, Spain, Sardinia, France. In how many of the above rows is the given information correctly matched? Only one, only two, all the three, none. Okay. Now one thing that everyone would have heard this Normandy. Normandy was the landing site during World War II for the Allies, okay, the Allied power. But even if you know Normandy is in France, even if you know that information, we know that if this is in France, they have changed the option. So this and this will be wrong. But even then you should know what is Mallorca, because look at this: A only one, B only two, C all the three, and D none. They have not given you the scope to eliminate. That is what makes this question a little difficult. So applying that lines of thought, though you know about Normandy, it also becomes important that you know what is Mallorca. Where is Mallorca? Okay. So overall, the learning here is always in the master following, they'll do that change of options, that adla badli. So look at this here. Normandy is in France, Mallorca is in Spain, Sardinia is in Italy. So that is where they have just changed it. But here they have changed all the rows, so it becomes a little difficult for you to understand, and they have removed the scope of elimination. Okay. However, how many of the above countries are correctly matched? None is correctly matched. Okay, very difficult question. The answer for the 80th question is D. Okay, let us solve this now. Again, this question can be solved with common sense. Look at this. Consider the following statements. Statement 1. Some rare earth elements are used in the manufacture of flat television screens and computer monitors. Okay. Statement 2. Some rare earth elements have phosphorescent properties. Again, both the statements are generic. That is the first advantage that you have. When they say some, it is generic. Now, when they say rare earth elements, there are 17 rare earth elements. So, out of that 17 rare earth elements, there will be some that can be used in the manufacture of television screens. And if you are using them to manufacture television screens and monitors, the television screens and monitors have light, and that light is what allows us to look at it. Now, if it is having light, then obviously those rare earth elements will have some amount of phosphorescent properties. Look at this. Only by understanding with common sense, you understand that both these are consistent, and it applies with our principle of consistency. So, which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statements? Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 explains statement 1. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, but statement 2 does not explain statement 1. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is not correct. Statement 1 is not correct, but statement 2 is correct. Okay. So, just by understanding this with common sense, we know that both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 explains statement 1. That is, that phosphorescent property is why they are using it in monitors and television screens. Look at this. So you understood this. Okay, with common sense you can understand. Some basic knowledge or background that you should have. See, rare earth elements are basically used in electronic items. That much you should know. So it has very good conductivity, and hence they use it in many of the electrical items. And if you take rare earth elements, there are 17 elements. Okay, you have 15 lanthanide elements. 15 lanthanide elements, and another 2 elements are scandium, yttrium. Okay, so scandium and yttrium together, these are what will make 17 rare earth elements. The next is, in this budget 2026-27, the government has announced creating what you call as rare earth corridors. Okay, so this rare earth corridors is to be created in these following states. You have Odisha, you have Andhra Pradesh, you have Tamil Nadu, and then you have Kerala. Okay, these are the states where rare earth corridors are being created. Why is this important? Is for India, it is important because we are dependent on China. When I say we were dependent on China, we depend almost 40%, that is 40% of rare earth element we import from China. So if there is any geopolitical conflict that happens with China, and if China stops giving us rare earth elements, then it shoots up our cost of manufacturing electronic items. That itself will hurt our Atmanirbhar Bharat or Make in India project or the dream that we have. So we have to develop that independence. That's why the government has announced the rare earth corridors. But anyways, this is some background that you should have when you come across some topics like rare earth elements, because it is a recurring theme. It is important strategically to know. So UPSC can ask, there is very high probability that the UPSC can ask on rare earth elements. Okay. Anyways, so this is about the 81st question. The answer is both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 explains statement 1. Okay, now if you look at this question, again, if you can apply some observational skills, you'll be able to get the answer. And also I will teach you, whenever you come across a program, how to learn that program. Look at this. Consider the following statements. Indian Railways have prepared a National Rail Plan, NRP, to create a future-ready railway system by 2028. Second statement. Kavach is an automatic train protection system developed in collaboration with Germany. Okay. Kavach system consists of RFID tags fitted on track in the station section. Okay. Which of the statements given above are not correct? 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3 only. Now look, I told you that with observational skills how to get the answer. So look at this. Indian Railways have prepared a National Rail Plan, NRP, to create a future-ready railway system by 2028. Now, again, this may not always be true, but this is one observation. Usually when you take any plans, any targets, any goals, you take climate targets or you take any type of goals, government goals, it always will be in the multiples of 5, 2025 to 2030 or 2030 to 2050. So it will always have, you know, they'll always round it off to a number. For example, if you take European Union, they want to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. India, if you take India, they want to achieve carbon neutrality by 2070. See, it is always a convention. There is nothing compulsion. It is always a convention that they'll always round it off to the nearby number. The reason is it helps them remember, and the recall will be very simple. That is why they do that. Okay. So with that observation, I'm not telling always. Don't take it always. I'm just telling mostly. Okay. Most of the time. So if they are trying to tell that to create a future ready railway system by 2028, usually why by 2028? It can be most probably by 2030. So with that observational skills, you can say that one is wrong. Okay. Now understand that they're asking which is not correct. Okay. So it is not necessary that you should get the thing that is wrong, because mostly it will be wrong only. It is very important for you to get that statement which is correct. Now look at this. Kavach is an automatic train protection system developed in collaboration with Germany. Now this Kavach was in the news because on that year there was some rail accident. The Kavach did not work. So there was actually a lot of news on Kavach. So by default, if you have read the current affairs properly, not even properly, if you have read one magazine of current affairs, you will know that Kavach is an indigenous system. Okay. So with that, we understand that the second statement is wrong. But let us say that you did not read that. Let us say that Kavach you had not read. Now come to this. Kavach system consists of RFID tags fitted on track in station section. Okay. Now look at this. Kavach system consists of RFID tags fitted on track in station system. Now we know that Kavach is a type of protection. That means it is something to do with advancement of technology. Okay, advancement of technology. Now if you look at RFID tag also is a type of technology. So there is consistency between them. Kavach system consists of RFID tags fitted on track in station system. Yes, this fitted on track can help us know the movement of the train, and that movement can help us, take any precautionary measure if that train is going to collide with anything. Okay, so it is going to prevent collision. Look at this. That is making sense with whatever I feel my assumption of what Kavach system is. So Kavach is a technology that is being developed. Inside the technology there can be RFID tags. There is no reason to rule it out. So when you know that there is no reason to rule it out, this statement makes sense. So now you have got the actual true statement. Now whenever they ask you which is not correct, and if you get which is the true statement, that means you got the bumper, that means you got the bonus. So if 3 is correct, okay, so this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer, because they're asking not correct. 3 is correct, 3 is correct, so this cannot be the answer. So what will be the answer? The answer is A, 1 and 2 only. So this is how through observational skills also you can develop or you can deduce the answer. But as I told you, it may work, it may not work. That is where your wisdom comes in. That is where your practicing of the test comes in. Okay. But overall, to just give you the context, when you tell National Rail Plan, okay, look at this. Indian Railways have prepared a National Rail Plan to create a future-ready railway system by 2030 only. A future-ready railway system by 2030. And look at this. By 2030, they want to prepare a rail plan. Okay, they want to prepare a rail plan that will cater to the demand of 2050. That means whatever demand that we are going to increase by 2050, for that 2050 we should have created a plan by 2030. That is what is NRP. That is why it is very forward-looking plan. That is why it becomes very important. So when you learn like that, when you read NRP and when you understand that this fact is very forward-looking, then you will never forget. But if you read English, just like you read the normal newspaper English, you will not remember. So whenever you read anything significant in that plan, try to understand the importance of it, or try to understand what India is trying to do. Okay, so by 2030 we are trying to prepare a plan that will forecast the demand by 2050 and prepare a plan accordingly. That is a very significant move. Okay, apart from that, one more point that they have done told in this plan, NRP, is they will prepare passenger plan and freight plan. Okay, so this passenger plan and freight plan will be prepared yearly till 2030 and decadely from decadely for 2041 and 2051. Okay, this is one more fact that you will get. No, passenger plan and freight plan, both this yearly till 2030, and after that decadely they are going to do. Apart from this, when you read this NRP, everything is English. That you can, if it comes in the exam, you can mark easily with the help of your common sense. For example, prioritizing the project. That is one other objective. The next is financing mechanisms, strategies involved. These are all English words that you don't have to remember. You will anyway recollect, and anyway you will use that common sense to get that answer right. But where you should remember when you read a plan or when you read a program is such facts. It is such facts that actually you should remember. And how will you remember is to understand the significance, and in that way remember the fact. Okay, don't remember the fact by just by-hearting the numbers. Remember the significance, and through that try to remember the fact. That is one other learning that you have to take from this particular discussion. So that 82nd question, the answer is A, 1 and 2 only. Let us move on to this question. Again, this question appears to be simple, but look at it carefully. There can be some tricks played by UPSC. When the question is very simple, there will be something there. Look at this. Consider the following space missions. Axiom 4, DEX, that is space docking experiment. Then you have Gaganyaan. How many of the above space missions given above encourage and support microgravity research? Only 1, B only 2, C all the 3, and D none. Okay. Now look at this. This encourage and support is a very broad term. You should always keep an eye on these terms. Okay, it's a very, very broad term. Microgravity research. Even if you don't know what is microgravity, they are undertaking research. That much knowledge is enough. Now, Axiom 4 was an event that happened where our Indian astronaut Subhanshu Shukla was taken to the space to join the International Space Station. So everyone will know that microgravity research would have taken place there. With that knowledge, you can say that this particular Axiom 4 is correct. Okay. The next, Gaganyaan is where we are planning to put the first human space flight of three astronauts to the low Earth orbit. Okay, to the low Earth orbit. Obviously, there will be some chances of research that will happen there. Okay, so with that logic, you can tell that this is also correct. Now, coming to this, you would have learned in the current affairs, because all the three are something that you will come across in the current affairs. You cannot say that I have no idea about anything. You would have heard about it. So next is the space docking experiment. So space docking experiment is where a satellite is made to dock with another satellite that helps in future space missions. In future space missions, it will actually help. This docking is very, very important. So hence, that experiment was done in this SpaceDex. Okay, space docking experiment. Now, you will, using your logic, you can say docking and microgravity research is not close by. So there is very less chance that 2 is there in it. So usually, the answer can be only 2, because SpaceDex is not necessarily going to take up microgravity research. This is what logically you can think. All right, let us look at this question. Again, I would consider this question because it is very specific. They will not give you any scope to apply your lines of thought or common sense, nor it is coming not from any type of basic concepts. Hence, it becomes very difficult. Sometimes when such question comes, it is okay to go forward. Don't worry too much about it, but understand the trend and see what you can learn for the future exams. That is what is very important learning from this. So first, let us look at this. With reference to India's defense, consider the following pairs. You have aircraft type, you have description. You have Dornier 228, that is maritime patrol aircraft. Then you have IL-76, this is supersonic combat aircraft. You have C-17 Globemaster 3, you have military transport aircraft. How many of the pairs given above are correctly matched? Okay, you have only one, only two, all the three, and none. Okay, so let me give you the answer straightforward because there's no lines of thought here. Now see, this IL-76 is a strategic airlift vehicle. Strategic airlift vehicle. So basically this IL-76 is used in order to lift heavy machinery or heavy machinery vehicle. Okay, so it is not a supersonic combat aircraft. So here 2 is wrong, and Dornier is a maritime patrol aircraft and C-17 Globemaster is military transport aircraft. This you would have heard a lot, but these two are something that is a little unheard of, usually if you are not following the newspapers regularly. However, how many of the above pairs given above are correctly matched? The answer is B, only 2, that is Dornier and C-17. Okay. Overall, what is the learning from this is, now defense is something that you should have some idea about, because the question comes from defense. You should have some idea about, because they are asking about the aircraft type. If you take the, let us say that if you take Army, and if you take Navy, and if you take Air Force. Okay, before, when it comes to defense, they were mainly focusing on defense exercises. Between what nations is this particular defense exercise happening? That was the main type. But now they go into the specific. When they come to Army, they go into missiles. Okay, now in aircraft, as you can see, they have gone into aircraft types. So for now, just observe what are the different aircraft types. We have the combat aircrafts, we have the transport aircrafts, then we have the airlift aircraft, then we have the patrol aircrafts. So what are the different types? Just observe. Take an image, watch the image and observe. Okay, and just make a name of all, just make a list of all those names. Don't overdo it. Just 5 to 10 minutes or maximum 15 minutes. Look at all the different types of aircraft that India has. Okay, after that you go to Navy. Even in Navy, you have different types of vessels. For example, you have aircraft carrier. Okay, aircraft carrier. Then you have what you call as combat vessels. Then you have what you call as corvettes, which are very small and they can move faster. Much more smaller than this, frigates. Okay, then you have submarines. Okay, recently they have inducted the 3rd nuclear submarine, that is INS Abhyudayan. Okay, so like this, these are some things that you should observe. So make a list of all these vessels and see what are the different names, how do they look, what is an important significance of such vehicle. So just have a look, just from curiosity angle look, don't think just from returns angle. How much of it returns? That is what, don't spend too much time on it, but have some time and look at these things. So that is the learning from this. Whenever they ask such questions, you should not spend too much time to develop depth, but you should have some type of superficial knowledge that in case if they ask the extended version of this, you should be able to answer. Now with respect to submarines, recently they have inducted INS Aridaman. So like that, whenever you see vessels, try to just look at their picture and just look at the names of these vessels. That will help you to recollect later in the exam. So one very important learning from this particular question is that whenever you come across such question, just know the surfacial knowledge so that in case they ask the extended version of this question, you should be able to answer. Don't try to build depth. It is useless because it is not a recurring theme, but also that does not mean that you should neglect completely. Look at it. They are asking different type of carriers. So for that, or different type of aircraft. So if they are asking different types of aircraft, you go and just look at the different types of aircrafts also. You also look at different types of vessels in the Navy also. So that is the extended version of that preparation. So that's the learning that you have to take from this. But anyways, so for the 84th question, the answer is only 2. So this question is purely basics. Each and everyone will know the moment they're reading this question that it is nothing but cloud seeding. Okay. Now let us read the question. Artificial way of causing rainfall to reduce air pollution makes use of silver iodide and potassium iodide, silver nitrate and potassium iodide, silver iodide and potassium nitrate, silver nitrate and potassium chloride. Okay. Obviously, the answer is silver iodide and potassium iodide. Now, what are they talking about is cloud seeding. Now, understand, for the clouds to form, there are 2 conditions. The first condition is in the atmosphere, okay, in the atmosphere, the air mass should reach relative humidity is equal to 100%. When the relative humidity becomes 100%, this air mass will undergo what you call as condensation. What is condensation? Condensation is water vapor becoming water. This water, the collection of this water is what results in the formation of clouds. Now, that is one condition. Now, for the formation of clouds, clouds are nothing but floating masses of water. Floating masses of water molecules are known as clouds. Now, for those clouds to form, one condition is RH is equal to 100%. This RH is equal to 100%, the temperature is what is called as dew point. Okay, dew point is the temperature at which the air mass is completely saturated with moisture. And only when the air mass is completely saturated with moisture or water vapor, condensation starts. Condensation is when the moisture will convert into water. Okay, now this water, this moisture to convert into water or water vapor to convert into water, you need the second logic or the second condition, that is condensation nuclei. Okay, that is condensation nuclei. Now, why is this condensation nuclei important is because, see, water vapor is a gas, but water is a liquid. Now, this gas can float in atmosphere, but water is a liquid and it cannot float. It needs something to hang on to, and that something to hang on to is this condensation nuclei. So, this condensation nuclei, not usually the condensation nuclei are dust particles. Condensation nuclei are dust particles that are present in the atmosphere. You cannot see them with your naked eye because they are very, very small. Usually 0.1 micrometer. Okay, now when there is no rainfall, one way of trying to induce cloud formation is to artificially put this condensation nuclei in the atmosphere. So what they do, if let us say that this is the surface and this is the atmosphere, so they will take an aircraft, they will go up and they will drop the condensation nuclei. So this condensation nuclei that they drop, these are nothing but salts. And these salts are nothing but water loving salts. Okay. Now this entire action is what is called as cloud seeding. So when they say seeding, that seed is nothing but condensation nuclei. Okay. That seeding happens because the salts are dropped, and if there is any air mass that has very high relative humidity, then the condensation is triggered and the clouds will form. Until you don't find that dust particle, condensation will not happen. That water does not have that ability to float. It needs something to latch on to. Okay, that latching onto, that platform is provided by this condensation nuclei. Now the problem what happens is, though you are providing the condensation nuclei, if that atmosphere has no air mass at all, I'm sorry, if the atmosphere has air mass, but the relative humidity is very low, let us say relative humidity is 10%, then even though you add salts, clouds will not form. So one of the important preconditions for that cloud seeding to be successful is relative humidity must be greater than 90%. If relative humidity is greater than 90%, then there are very high chances of condensation to form. That is, it can go 100% and condensation can form. Okay, that is why all cloud seeding will not be successful. But anyways, coming back to the question, I told you that you take the aircraft, you go up and you drop salts. So what are the important salts that are dropped? These salts are water loving salts. Usually it is NaCl, CaCl, silver iodide, then you have potassium iodide. So you have NaCl, CaCl, silver iodide, potassium iodide. Okay, so these are the main salts that are dropped in order to act as condensation nuclei for triggering the formation of clouds. So I hope you understood the 85th question. The answer is silver iodide and potassium iodide. Okay. Look at this question. If you know the philosophy of parliamentary form of government in India, with that philosophy only you can understand and make sure that you get the answer right. Let us look at this. Look, consider the following statements with regards to pardoning power of the President of India. Now, the exercise of this power by the President can be subjected to limited judicial review. Okay. Tell me one action that is exclusive of judicial review. Every action of the government will be subjected to some level of judicial review. Okay, this is true. If you understand the philosophy, you will know this very well. Because we have checks and balances, and it is always the judiciary that will overlook the legislators as well as the executives, because it is the judiciary that protects the sovereignty of the constitution. Hence, Supreme Court is the guardian of the Constitution of India. So that is why, if you know the philosophy very well, you can understand the question and get the answer, especially in a subject like polity. So understand the philosophy of that particular democratic setup in India. Okay, anyways, the exercise of this power by the President can be subjected to limited judicial review. Statement 1. The President can exercise this power without the advice of the central government. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? You have 1 only, you have 2 only, you have both 1 and 2, you have neither 1 and 2. Now look at this. As I told you, with that philosophy I am trying to deduce the answer, then I will come to the conceptual part or exact procedural part. Now, the exercise of this power by the President can be subjected to limited judicial review. Anything and everything to a level will always be subject to judicial review. So this should be correct. Okay. Next, the President can exercise this power without the advice of the central government. Now look at this. A President is a nominal head. When the President is a nominal head, why are they giving the discretion of this particular power to the President? Very unlikely. So again, there are very high chances that this is wrong. So look at this. I am able to understand whether this is making sense or it is not making sense with respect to only philosophy. With respect to only the philosophy of Indian democratic setup. Philosophy of Indian democratic setup. So always, if you know the philosophy, you can easily get the answer. So the answer here is A, 1 only. But now let us come to the exactness of the procedural part of this particular question. Now, if you take this, the exercise of this power, that is the pardoning power by the President, can be subjected to limited judicial review. You have Kehar Singh versus Union of India case. You have the Maruram versus Union of India case. Then you have Ipuru Sudhakar versus the state of Andhra Pradesh. So in all these 3 cases, the Supreme Court says that the pardoning power is subjected to judicial review. Now, why do they say limited judicial review? Is because the Supreme Court cannot question the decision taken by the President. That is, it cannot question why did you not pardon that person or why didn't you pardon that person. They cannot ask that question. So this is not there. What they can look into is the procedural correctness. Look at this. So they can look into the procedural correctness. Has the procedure been followed? Have they abided by the proper time limit? So they cannot take too much of time. There should not be too much of delay. So like that, they can look at the procedural correctness. They cannot go into the question of the decision taken. So that is why they say limited judicial review. So this is how procedurally you are looking into whether the statement is now right or wrong. But understanding the philosophy itself will give you this. You don't have to know all these things. But what you should know is the President can exercise this power without the advice of the central government is wrong. Okay. So you know that Article 72 provides the pardoning power of the President, but it has to be done with the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. So that is Article 72. Now to just give you the conceptual backing, you have when you come to Article 72, Article 72 provides one pardoning power. That pardoning power as one is pardon, other is commute, another is remission, another is reprieve, and another is respite. Let us write respite first, respite, and then we have reprieve. Okay. Now pardon means you are completely absolving conviction, and you are completely absolving conviction, and you are freeing that person. That person is now free. There is no punishment, and whatever conviction that was, that person was convicted for, you are removing that conviction. So that person is no more a convict who has been convicted for that offense at all. So that person is removed from that conviction. So you cannot tell that that person has committed that offense at all. So you are removing that conviction also, and you are allowing that person to go free. That is, the punishment is also gone. This is pardoning. Now understand that when it comes to death sentence, when it comes to pardoning of the death sentence, though it is a state law, the president only can pardon a death sentence. Central law, president can pardon. State law also, for death sentence, only president can pardon. Governor can commute, remission, respite or reprieve, and can pardon also, but cannot pardon a death sentence. Governor cannot pardon a death sentence. President only can pardon a death sentence, though it is a state law. Understand this logic? But anyways, so you understood what is pardoning. Commuting means you are lessening the sentence and its character. You are lessening the sentence and its character. That is, if the sentence is 10 years, you are lessening it to 5 years, and you are reducing the character. That is, if it was harsh, then you will make it less harsh. Remission is reducing the sentence, but not character. When you reduce the sentence and not character, then that is remission. Okay. Respite is when you make an exception and reduce the sentence. When you make an exception and reduce a sentence for special circumstances. For special circumstances. And the last is reprieve. Reprieve is when you stay the punishment. You stay the punishment. So that is what is reprieve. You stay the punishment until some particular objectives are solved. That is, that person has applied for a mercy petition, so that person is about to be executed, then you give reprieve. So that you stay that until a decision is made on what to do, whether to pardon or commute or remission or respite. So on that decision being taken, that particular person or a convict is given a stay on that particular punishment, and that is what is called as reprieve. So overall, these are the important powers given to the president as well as governor. But I also told you one important exception that you should always know, that is the pardoning of a death sentence, though it is in a state law, can be done only by the president. So overall, these are some conceptual understanding that you should have in this particular question. But if you can understand the philosophy of polity and philosophy of the democratic setup of India, you can more or less answer most of the questions in polity, and hence understand the philosophy very well. Okay, so this completes the 86th question. Look at this question. Everyone can solve this question. It is pretty straightforward. But what is the learning when we see this question is, if you look at the question is very elaborative. It has 3 big paragraphs. So when you are reading it, it may take a little bit more time. So how to save that few seconds? Look at the question very carefully. Let me read out the question. Consider the following statements. On the dissolution of the House of the People, that is Lok Sabha, the Speaker shall not vacate his or her office until immediately before the first meeting of the House of the People after the dissolution. Okay. Next statement. Let us keep this. According to the provisions of the Constitution of India, whenever they tell this, you should be very careful. According to the provisions of the Constitution of India, a member of the House of the People, on being elected as a speaker, shall resign from his or her political party immediately. We for sure know that this is not true. This does not happen. Not as per the provision, not as per the convention. No one will resign from his or her political party on being elected as a speaker. This is definitely not true. That is why when they are, or when their removal is going on, when they were, let us say that the resolution for removal of a speaker is going on, they'll go back to becoming their party member and they can vote as a normal member of the parliament. Okay, so understand that. So this itself is false. This everyone will know that second statement is false. So when you know in this statements, one statement is for sure wrong, go directly here. Look at this. Which of the statements given above are correct? You know that there is something that is exactly wrong. Then eliminate that. Remove this 2. So 2 is wrong. So you can remove this. So this will go. You remove this. So this will go. You remove this. So this will go. So the answer is C. So you don't even have to read this. By default, you know that the answer is C. You have saved that few seconds from reading this. Move to the next question. That is how you save a few seconds. The moment you know something is wrong, go to the option, remove it. If you get the answer, then well and fine, mark it, go to the next one. Don't worry about this statement at all. Okay. So that is how you save a few seconds. But for the sake of understanding, let us read it out. The next one. The Speaker of the House of the People may be removed from his or her office by a resolution passed by a resolution of the House of the people passed by a majority of all the then members of the House, provided that no resolution shall be moved unless at least 14 days notice has been given of the intention to move the resolution. Look how long it is. This itself will take around 30-40 seconds. Okay. So, but talking about the procedural aspect, this is true. Now look at this. There is something called simple majority. There is something called effective majority. And then there is something called absolute majority. Okay, let us go from this side. Okay, what is absolute majority? Absolute majority is total membership of the House divided by 2 plus 1. This is absolute majority. The next is, what is effective majority? If you take total membership minus vacancies divided by 2 plus 1, this is effective majority. What is simple majority? Members present and voting divided by 2 plus 1. So this is simple majority. So if you take the presiding officers like speaker, deputy chairman, usually the removal is effective majority. So that is what they are talking about here. Look at this. The speaker of the House of the people may be removed from his or her office by a resolution of the House of the people passed by the majority of all the then members of the House, provided that no resolution shall be moved unless at least 14 days notice has been given of the intention to move the resolution. So all the then members means it automatically becomes effective majority. So again, if you know the procedure, you know this very well. So this is true. Okay, so you understood this. Coming to this part, this is given in Article 194. That's why I keep telling you, when you read the bare constitution has different parts, and inside the parts, let us say this is part 1 and this is part 2 and this is part 3. Inside the parts, they have given articles, article 1, 2, so they have given articles 3, 4. So like this, they have given articles. So when you read the articles, you will see the titles. There are titles. So you should always know the article and their titles. You don't have to memorize, just read the titles. This entire thing is the title of Article 194. Okay. So they have taken the title and they have put it here. So that is what helps you to get that statements, though sometimes it may seem extreme, but they would have taken the title and they have put it there. So be very, very careful. So overall, first statement is correct. The third statement is correct. The answer for the 87th question is C, 1 and 3 only. Alright, this question is also very, very simple if you understand the procedure. Polity is rules, procedure, philosophy. If you understand the rules, procedure and philosophy very well, polity questions cannot go wrong. Okay, keep this in your mind. Let us start with the question. Consider the following statements. The first statement reads, if any question arises as to whether a member of the House of the People, that is Lok Sabha, has become subject to disqualification under the 10th schedule, the President's decision in accordance with the opinion of the Council of Union Ministers shall be final. The moment you read this, you understand that they have changed this. This entire thing is wrong. It is the Speaker's decision that is final. But let us go back. Next, there is no mention of the word political party in the Constitution of India. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. Now understand, when they say mention and when they say definition, these are two different words. You should be very, very careful. There is no mention means it becomes too extreme. There will be some mentioning. When they say it is not defined or it is defined, then you should be very careful. Usually it will not be defined. Okay. But look at this. There is no mention is wrong. Why? Because see, if you take the 10th schedule, the 10th schedule is the 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1985. This is what is talking about anti-defection law. Okay. So in anti-defection law, it says that when any MP, okay, voluntarily gives up the membership, of the political party, from which ticket the member has won the election, then this is considered defection. Now, if this is considered defection, then obviously when they are telling that provision, they should use the word political party. You also have one more provision in the same 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act 10th schedule, anti-defection law. We have one more schedule, that is if 2/3 of the members decide to merge with another political party, then this is not defection. This is not defection. So again, if two-thirds have to merge with another political party, they have to mention it. So you cannot say that it is no. There should be some mention. So this statement is also wrong. So only with that way of analysis, only with that recollection, you know that this is also wrong, this is also wrong. 88, the answer is D, neither 1 nor 2. A very straightforward question, each and everyone will know, but these are the questions where you should not go wrong. So keep that in your mind. The 88th question, the answer is D, neither 1 nor 2 is correct. Okay, in this question, the question is talking about the Mines and Minerals Regulation and Development Act of 1957. If you observe carefully in the last 10 years, Mines and Minerals Regulation and Development Act is a recurring theme. They keep asking the question. So this is something that you should have worked on properly. But let us read out the question first. Consider the following statements. Statement 1. In India, state governments have no power for making rules for grant of concessions in respect of extraction of minor minerals, even though such minerals are located in their territories. Okay, so look at this. 1, no power, even though. Okay, look at the words they are using. No power, even though. Okay, these are the two things that you should know. Anyway, in India, state governments have no power for making rules for grant of concessions in respect of extraction of minor minerals, even though such minerals are located in their territories. Statement 2. In India, the central government has the power to notify minor minerals under the relevant law. Here are also two words. Notify, relevant law. So if you look at this, no power even though, and if you look at notify and relevant, you should know with that particular language that this is wrong and this is right. Again, that wisdom will come when you solve a lot of mock tests. That is what I tell you is what is subject wisdom, and that is why solving mock tests becomes very, very important. But there is one more angle to look at it. See, this is language. I told you this is the skill of language, understanding the language and then going from it. Okay, so that is language. So that is one way. Let us remove that. Now let us apply logic. Okay, let us apply logic. Now see, in India, the central government has the power to notify minor minerals under the relevant law. Now if you take ports, you have minor port, you have major port. Major port is under the control of central government, minor port is under the control of state government. Now, who can declare something as a major port? Will it be the center or the state? It will always be the center. In the same logic, if you apply the same logic, here also, there are minerals. You will have minor minerals and you have major minerals. Okay. Now, who will have the control to declare which is major and which is minor? Obviously, the central government. Because state governments, why will it declare something as major mineral, give control to the central government? It will not make any sense. It should always come from top to down. So, central government will notify which is minor and which is major. Whichever it will declare as major automatically will come under the control of central government, and this will automatically go to the control of state government. See, this is logic. If you can corollary apply this to this logic, then automatically you will know that in India the central government has the power to notify minor minerals under relevant law. They are not even asking which law, under relevant law. So this is correct. Next. In India, state governments have no power for making rules for grant of concessions in respect of extraction of minor minerals, even though such minerals are located in their territories. Look at this. There is no consistency. There is no consistency. This and this looks like it is exclusive. If India central government has the power to notify minor minerals, and if state government has no power to create rules for grants of concessions for those minor minerals, then why are they notifying it? These two together will not make sense at all. With that, you know that there is principle of consistency does not apply. So you should know that something is wrong here. That is where logic, this is logical way of doing things. Okay. So overall, you understand that this is wrong, this is correct. So both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 explains statement 1 is not there. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, but statement 2 does not explain statement 1 is also wrong. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is not correct, is wrong. Statement 1 is not correct, but statement 2 is correct. This is correct. So the answer for the 89th question is D. Okay. So this is how you should, with logic or language. I've taught you two different approaches, how you can always deduce the answer. Then comes your conceptual understanding or your, conceptual clarity. So conceptual clarity is the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957. If you have read this act properly, then you will know that this is wrong and this is right. Okay. Now, just as an add-on, understand that there is MMDR amendment Amendment Act 2023. So again, since MMDR Act is a recurring theme, you should always build a depth. So if you are appearing for the upcoming prelims, you should have good idea about what this Amendment Act is. Okay. So just to tell you, 24 critical minerals are created. Now, second, central government has been empowered. Central government is empowered to auction these critical or strategic minerals. That is one. Next, this is the first one. I'm talking about this. This is the first one. This is the second one. The third is they have removed few minerals from Part B of the Act. So Part B of the Act, they have removed few minerals. What are those minerals? One is lithium, another is zirconium, another is titanium. Okay, next, what is Part B of the Act? Part B of the Act defines atomic minerals. Part B of the Act defines atomic minerals. Okay, so they have removed the few minerals from the ambit of these atomic minerals. Next, the fourth one comes. Why have they removed it from the ambit of the Part B? Because Part B, these atomic minerals are handled only by the government. So they are removing some minerals from this. That means they are encouraging. Private players in mining these minerals. Last one, to also encourage private players even more, they are bringing something called exploration license. So what is exploration license is? You can explore. If you find any minerals, when we auction, you will get some amount of royalty. So that is what is known as exploration license. Now see, the moment I have read this in a sequence like this, I will never forget. But if you just read English and if you try to just recollect English from this Amendment Act, you will not recollect. You should understand the significance of every provision. Okay? Only when you understand the significance, only then you will remember. If that point does not have any significance, that means it is English. That you can guess even in the prelims exam. So don't worry about it at all. So when you are reading anything, you should always know the significance of every provision. You will never forget that provision. So I hope you understood what is MMDR Amendment Act 2023. And also you understood how through language also you can get, through logic also you can get the answer, through conceptual clarity also you can get the answer. So it all depends on mix and match on that day, on that particular question. So I hope this was helpful, guys. Let us move on to the next one. Look at this question. This question can be easily solved with observational skills. Okay. Again, your mind, the moment your mind looks at nature restoration law, your mind will stop working because your mind gets fixated on this technical term. Don't get fixated on any technical term. Stay calm and read the question properly and observe. Look at this. That is why, look at this. Which organization has enacted the nature restoration law to tackle climate change and biodiversity loss? Okay, I'll repeat again. Which organization has enacted the nature restoration law to tackle climate change and biodiversity loss? You have the European Union, you have the World Bank, you have the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, you have the Food and Agriculture Organization. Now, who can enact a law? Who can enact a law? Can a law be enacted by any international organization, international institutions? Can a law be enacted by any international institutions, or can it be enacted by a sovereign body? Who can enact a law? Please tell me. Now, if you lose this logic, which organization has enacted this law to tackle this? Only a sovereign body can enact a law. International institutions can only pass agreements and conventions. I hope you're understanding this. So, with that logic, you should understand that here, which is the sovereign body amongst all the four? The sovereign body is the European Union. So, very high chances that European Union would have passed this particular nature restoration law. This is why observational skills is also important. Don't get fixated on any technical term. Don't start judging yourself that have I read this in current affairs or not. It may have come in some current affairs and I may have skipped it. Don't take all those negative lines of thought and overlap on this question. Then you will lose out on exactly what you should observe. When you remove all that noise, you will exactly get what needs to be observed, and what needs to be observed is enacted and law. And by that, you understand that this can be done by European Union amongst all the four options. Okay. So just to give you a background, this is basically, as the name suggests, nature restoration law. a law to restore nature. Now that nature can be land also, the nature can be sea also. That is one. Second, if you take nature restoration law, they want to restore at least 20% of EU's land and sea area by 2030. Okay, why this is very important is because they are following something called reaching carbon neutrality by 2050. So because of this, nature restoration law becomes very important. Now look at this. I have told you only the significant. You are never going to forget it. Learning the significance is important, not the English or the literature. So I hope you understood this. So the answer here is the European Union. Again, the learning from this is observational skills. This will come when you remain calm and manage time better, and if you can observe carefully. Okay. So this completes the 90th question. The answer is A. Let us move on to the next one. Look at this question. The question appears lengthy, and understand that which of the statements given above are not correct. Whenever they say which of the above statements given are not correct, if you get any statement that is for sure correct, only then you can eliminate. If you know that something is wrong, you cannot eliminate. Okay. So if in case you get some statement that is for sure correct, and if they are asking you which of the statement above are not correct, then you can use that for sure correct to eliminate the option to get the answer. Okay. So be very careful. That is one of the important learnings. But let's read out the question. Again, the question is not that difficult. It is purely coming straightforward from polity conventional topics. Okay. Look at this. Consider the following statements. The first statement is panchayats at the intermediate level exist in all the states. Okay. Panchayats at the intermediate level exists in all the states. Let's keep this side. To be eligible to be a member of a panchayat at the intermediate level, a person should attain the age of 30 years. Okay. To be eligible to be a member of the panchayat at intermediate level, a person should be attaining an age of 30 years. Next, the chief minister of the state constitutes a commission to review the financial position of the panchayats at the intermediate levels and to make recommendations regarding the distribution of net proceeds of taxes and duties leviable by the state between the state and the panchayats at the intermediate level. So basically in all the statements they have just pushed intermediate level, okay, to check are you able to recognize it or not. Again, it is purely basics. You can understand the moment you are reading it that they have made certain changes. For example, look at this. The chief minister of the state constitutes a finance commission. Finance commission. If you take the finance commission at the center, it is the president. At the local self-government, it is the governor. At the center, the finance commission is set up by the president. At the state level, for the municipalities and the financial distribution amongst them, the governor is the one who sets it up. So that is why when they use this term, you should be very, very careful. They would have interchanged it. Okay. So first of all, that is wrong. The second is this finance commission not only deals with the distribution of intermediate level, this deals in general with the fiscal proceeds or financial proceeds between the center and the municipalities and the center and the local self-government or the panchayats. Okay. So overall, this statement is wrong. Okay. Now, to be eligible to be a member of the panchayat at the intermediate level, there is nothing like this. To be at the intermediate level, there should be some level of filtration or some level of age. There is no such criteria. With that only you will understand that this is also wrong. But I told you we cannot eliminate any option because since they are asking which of the following is not correct, you should need something that is for sure correct. Okay. Next, panchayats at the intermediate levels exist in all the states. What if the state is very small? What if the state is very small? For example, let us say Sikkim. Why does Sikkim require intermediate level? Because it is very small. So in that way of questioning, you can say that even this is wrong. So you, through the method of questioning, you came to the conclusion that all the three are not correct. This is a questioning approach of seeing or seeking truth. When you ask question to seek truth, you will understand that they are not correct. But let us come to the conceptual clarity angle. Okay. So this is conceptual clarity. So you have the 72nd Amendment Act that created what we call as the panchayats. The panchayats run from Article 343 to 243O. This is the article. So in Article 243B, okay, they say that panchayats should have three-tier system, but not in those states. The three-tier system is not compulsory. Is not compulsory in those states which has less than 20 lakh population. So less than 20 lakh population, it is not compulsory. Example is Sikkim only. Next, Article 243F says to be eligible to be a member of the panchayat, you need not be 30 years, you can be only 21 years. Okay. For Lok Sabha only, it is not 30. Okay. Why will it be 30 for this? In that logic also you can remove. But anyways, this is 21 according to Article 243F, not intermediate at all in general. Okay. The next is Article 243I. Article 243I says that the governor will set up the finance commission in order to look into the net proceeds, distribution of the net proceeds between the state and the panchayats and municipalities. So this is the conceptual clarity angle of trying to deduce the answer. So overall, which of the following statements given above are not correct? The answer is D, 1, 2 and 3. Alright, let us solve this question. Now why this question is important is because one, it is a question from international relations which provides you the guidelines of when you come across any concept of international relations, what are the dimensions that you should cover. For that, it's a very important learning, but let's read out the question first. Consider the following statements in respect to BIMSTEC. Okay, it is a regional organization consisting of 7 members till January 2025. Okay, next, it came into existence with the signing of the Dhaka Declaration in 1999. Next, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand and Nepal are the founding members states of BIMSTEC. Fourth, in BIMSTEC, the subsector of tourism is being led by India. Okay, which of the following statements given above is or are correct? A, 1 and 2, B, 2 and 3, C, 1 and 4 and D, 1 only. Okay, now I would consider this particular question to be difficult because there are a lot of variables. Provided that you know some specific fact that for sure is correct and hence that will help you eliminate the option and get the answer, that is good. But otherwise, look at this, it is a regional organization consisting of 7 members. That is the first variable. So here you are 1. Till January 2025. This is the second variable. It came into existence with the signing of Dhaka Declaration. This is variable 3. 1999. This is another variable 4. Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand and Nepal. See, 5, are they all together or are only 3 are founding members? That itself is another variable. This is 5. In BIMSTEC, the subsector of tourism, not sector, they are asking subsector. Look at this, 6. There are so many variables that the examiner has the chance to change. You should be very careful. Hence, this question becomes a little very tricky as well as difficult. But few students, if you are coming from international relations or if you have a lot of passion about international relations and if you have known this facts very easily, then you can easily get the answer. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking in general about those candidates who will find it difficult if there are so many facts. Okay. Overall, I told you that this gives you a very good reference point to learn international relations. I will come back to that later, but let me just discuss this. Look at this. It is a regional organization consisting of 7 member states till January 2025. Okay. If you look at this, till January 2025, you have BIMSTEC. In BIMSTEC, you have the 5 South Asian nations and 2 Southeast Asian nations. So here you have India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and then you have Bhutan, Nepal. This side you have Myanmar and Thailand. So this particular statement is correct. So 1 is correct, but you can remove this. Next, it came into existence with the signing of Dhaka Declaration in 1999. Okay. However, what I know is it was like this in 1997. So in 1997, this BIST came into picture. Okay. From this BIST, it went on to become BIMST. Okay. This also happened in 1997 only. Okay. So this particular thing is wrong. BIMSTEC was formed in 2004. So either ways you take, this is not true. So the third statement is wrong. So look at this. Even if I know third statement is wrong, I'm not able to eliminate anything. Okay. Now, in BIMSTEC, the subsector of tourism is being led by India. Now, not sectors, they're asking subsectors. This becomes even more difficult. Even if you have learnt, you know that they have created something called 7 sectors. Now, inside that 7 sectors, there are a lot of subsectors. It is not possible for you to learn even if I give you time now. So, that is why you should know this or not, and that is why it makes it difficult. Okay. However, this is not there. The fourth option is wrong. So, if you remove this fourth option, the first option and the second option is also wrong. So this is also gone. So this is also gone. So the answer here is 1 only. So look at this. The answer is 1 only. Okay. That is why it becomes very difficult because you should know these 3 statements are wrong. At the end of the day, you will come to this 1 and 4 or 1 only. So you should know this. Otherwise, you are just guessing, and this becomes very difficult. So overall, I know the answer. The answer is this is wrong, and hence the answer is 1 only. But let me just tell you the 7 sectors for the sake of discussion and for the sake of you knowing that it can reappear in the next exam or in the future exams. So there are 7 sectors. there are 7 members. So one member has given one sector. Okay. For example, India has been given the sector of security. Okay. Next, Nepal has been given the section of people to people contact. Okay. Then you have Sri Lanka has been given the sector of science and technology. Bhutan has been given the sector of environment. Okay. Myanmar has been given the sector of agriculture. Thailand has been given the sector of connectivity. Okay. And Bangladesh has been given the sector of, I think, trade. Okay, I think trade. Okay, so these are the different 7 sectors that are given responsibility to 7 different members. Again, look at it, so factual it becomes. Hence, the question is deemed to be difficult. But I told you that this gives you a very excellent way or a reference point of how to learn in international relations. See, whenever you come across a regional cooperation, first learn the history of that regional cooperation, then know about the members, then know about any declarations, then know about the recent summits. So, these are the important dimensions that you have to collect for any regional cooperation or any type of geopolitical association or organization. Okay, whatever it is, these are the important dimensions, and these dimensions they have taken and converted into questions. That is why I am telling you that this provides an excellent reference point for you to understand how to collect information when you are reading any international organization or any regional cooperation. Okay, so I hope you understood this. That is the learning that you are taking. So this is 92. The answer for this is 1 only. Look at this question. Again, this question is purely direct. It is very specific. You know or you don't know. There is no scope for lines of thought or logic or any observation. It does not depend on skills. You either know or not know. Such questions, if you don't know, don't worry. And this is not a recurring theme, so don't try to build any theme. Don't use this as a reference. You don't know, just forget it and move on. Don't worry about it. Okay, but for the sake of discussion, let us complete it. Who amongst the following are members of the jury to select the recipient of Gandhi Peace Prize? Okay, the President of India, the Prime Minister of India, the Chief Justice of India, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha. Okay, let us assume that the President is the nominal head, so such jury or such members of the jury, President will not be included in that logic. Also, if you remove that one, if you remove these two, you are still stuck with A and C. Okay, so that's what I told you, either know or you don't know. But overall, look at this, the answer is 2, 3 and 4. That is, the answer is C, 2, 3 and 4. You know or you don't know. Just for the sake of discussion, let us learn that this Gandhi Peace Prize was instituted in 1995 to celebrate the 125th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi ji. Okay, so the prize is given to anyone who works in the field of polity, social or economy and brings about transformation in a non-violent manner. Now, the jury who will present the prize, it is 5-member jury. So, on one side you have these 3, that is Prime Minister of India, you have the Chief Justice of India, and then you have the leader of opposition of Lok Sabha, and the Prime Minister also selects 2 eminent persons. So, the 3 of these people and 2 of eminent persons selected by the Prime Minister together becomes the jury. Okay, so this is just the understanding of what is Gandhi Peace Prize. But there is nothing to learn from this that you can take for the next future exams. It is just that you did not know, you got to know. Okay, however, the answer for the 93rd question is option C, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, this question is again science and technology. Whenever science and technology comes, very high scope to use logic to get the answer, reasoning to get the answer. You don't have to know in and out about it. You don't have to know the facts about it. If you know logic and reasoning, you can get the answer. Let us see this. GPS aided geo augmented navigation, that is Gagan. GPS aided, okay, it is helped by GPS. Geo augmented navigation uses a system of ground stations, to provide necessary augmentation. Augmentation means enhancing. Enhancing will improve the accuracy. This is what should run in your mind. That's all. GPS aided geo augmented navigation means enhanced navigation or more accurate navigation. Okay, that's all you should use. Which of the following statement is or are correct in respect of Gagan? Let us see this. It is designed to provide additional accuracy and integrity. Language. It is designed to provide additional accuracy and integrity. Next, it will allow more uniform and high quality air traffic management. Okay, next, it will provide benefits only in aviation but not in other modes of transportation. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1, 2 and 3, 2 and 3 only, 1 only, 1 and 2 only. Now, by reading this particular question, you understood the simple format or simple form of this explanation. The simple form of this explanation you understood. When you understood the simple form of this explanation, this particular statement is doing justice to the simple simplification of this. So, very high chances that this is correct. So, if one is correct, look at this, this goes. Now, it is designed to provide additional accuracy and integrity. If this is correct, then this should be correct. Why? Because it will allow more uniform and high quality air traffic management. Obviously, if there is additional accuracy, that will provide more uniform and high quality. High quality is always there when there is additional accuracy. So, if you look at this and this are consistent with one another. So, 1 and 2 are consistent. So, 1 and 2 should be together. So, I remove this also. The next comes the third statement. It will provide benefits only in aviation but not in other modes of transportation. Ask why. Why only aviation, not in other modes of transportation? At the end of the day, what are they doing? The GPS is there. They are adding more ground stations to get more accuracy. If they are adding more ground station to get more accuracy from the GPS, why should it be given only to aviation and why not other things? That is how basic, if you think this is not true. So, the third statement is wrong. So, this becomes wrong and the answer here is D, 1 and 2 only. That is why science and technology is a place where it provides the scope for you to apply logic, and science means you should always ask why. If you ask why, you will get the truth. So, the answer for the 94th question is, the option is D, 1 and 2 only. Okay, this again is a question of international relations. This again is very factual, and if you know, you can answer, otherwise it becomes very difficult. Let us read out the question. Consider the following statements regarding AI Action Summit held in Grand Palais, Paris in February 2025. So, it is basically coming from current affairs and it is something that you should have read. It is not that they have asked from some nook and corner. You should have read this current affairs. Okay. Now, when you read this current affairs, how exactly or what exactly is the things that you should extract from the current affairs, the issue, if you take an issue, what are the things that you should extract from the current affairs? Understand from this question. That is the learning. The learning is you should know or not know, because again they will not ask you this. So, learning this is of no use, but whatever is there in the current affairs for your future exams, what is the things that you should extract when you are reading any summits? So, understand this. It is co-chaired with India, that is AI Action Summit is co-chaired with India. The event builds on the advances made at the Bletchley Park Summit held in 2023 and the Seoul Summit held in 2024. Look at this. Again, two variables they have asked in one statement. Next, along with the other countries, US and UK, also signed the declaration on inclusive and sustainable AI. Okay. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A, 1 only, B, 2 only, C, both 1 and 2, D, neither 1 nor 2. Okay. Now, look at this. Either you know the first statement or not know the first statement. There is no logic here, because they're using facts, they're using specificity. In specificity, you cannot know any type of reasoning. So, either you know Bletchley Park Summit held in 2023 and Seoul Summit held in 2024. Because in UPSC, what happens in a statement, if there are two variables, they'll always, interchange it. But here they have not done it. The first statement is actually correct. There is no logic. You should actually know it. Otherwise, there is no point. Now here, along with other countries, US and UK also signed the declaration on inclusive and sustainable AI. Okay, it is not true. This is wrong, because UK and US were the two countries that did not sign. Understand that there were 58 countries. There were 58 countries that signed the agreement, and the only two countries in that particular summit that did not sign was US and UK. So, when you were reading this current affairs, one, as I told you, understand the history of that summit. Okay, understand that summit significance, that is whatever they have declared in that particular summit, and understand whatever was the exception in that particular summit. That is like this. All the countries except these two have signed. India has signed, even China has signed, but USA and UK has not signed. So that becomes the outlier. So that outlier is what becomes the exception. So these are some learnings that you should do whenever you take an issue in international relations and learn about it, especially from the current affairs. Many people will start reading objectives of AI Action Summit. That is nothing but English. Don't sit and read English. Look at such dimensions and see where the questions can come from. Okay. However, the first statement is correct. The second statement is wrong. So the answer for the 95th question is, which of the following statements given above is or are correct? So 1 is correct, 2 is wrong. So the answer is A. Okay, 95th question, the answer is A, 1 only. Okay, now these are the questions you should not even worry about. You should just let it go and go to the next one, because again, too specific it is. It cannot be under the scope of any individual to know all the years. But anyways, if you know, that is well and good, but most of the students will not know, and you should not worry about it also. Let us complete for the sake of discussion. Consider the following pairs: International Year of Women Farmer 2026, International Year of Sustainable and Resilient Tourism 2027, International Year of Peace and Trust 2025, International Year of Asteroid Awareness and Planetary Defense 2029. How many of the above pairs given above are correctly matched? Only 1, only 2, only 3, all the 4. Now the correct answer is D, all the 4. All the 4 are correctly matched. Usually in UPSC they will do the interchanging of the options, but I will not teach you any type of tricks. That is not the objective of my discussion at all. Tricks will not help you to clear prelims. Tricks will not work out consistently. Skills are sustainable. Skills work in long term. Skills work in UPSC prelims exam. Tricks do not. So I will not teach you any type of tricks. Please make sure that don't learn tricks. But however, this question is too factual for us to analyze in any logical or any lines of thought. The answer is very factual. The answer is how many pairs are correct? All the 4 pairs are correct. You can know this. You can use this in the upcoming mains exam if you have this in your mind. That's all. But apart from that, the utility of this question is not much. Okay. So the answer for the 96th question is option is D. All the 4 are matching correct pairs. Okay, another question from international relations, another question that demands your knowledge in current affairs, another question that acts as a very good reference point of what to take in any issues in international relations. Let us read out the question first. Consider the following statements with regards to BRICS. 16th BRICS summit was held under the chairmanship of Russia in Kazan. Indonesia has become a full member of BRICS. The theme of the 16th BRICS summit was strengthening multiculturalism for just global development and security. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, D 1 only. Okay. Now understand that they are asking which of the following is correct. So if you want to use that ability or that potential of elimination, we should know in this 3 statement which is perfect or exactly wrong. If you know which is exactly wrong or which is for sure wrong, then you can remove that and then get the answer. That is one. Second, every statement has a lot of variables, and hence there is a scope of difficulty, but everyone will know this. Okay, there comes a chance where everyone will know this also. Okay, but where will they fall down is here only 3. Okay, do I know this or not? But one advantage for you is they have not given 1, 2 and 3. So in a scenario where they have not given 1, 2 and 3, if you know that for sure these 2 are correct, then with all the belief you can go and mark A as 1 and 2. Because if 16th BRICS summit is the recent summit, every student would have studied that in the 16th BRICS summit it was held in Russia in Kazan. That much information everyone will have, and once if any member is added into that particular regional cooperation, that is also very important news. So if you have read that current affairs, you will know that Indonesia has become a full member of BRICS in that particular summit. Okay, so these are 2 things that you know for sure that is correct. Then why are you worried about this? Then go and directly mark 1 and 2 is correct. That is why if there is no 1, 2 and 3, it gives you an extra scope that you don't need to know exactly for sure wrong. If you know even 2 that is exactly right also, you can go ahead and get it. Okay, so these are some skills that you should know. But anyways, the theme of the 16th BRICS summit was strengthening. Multiculturalism is wrong. They have changed that from multilateralism. Okay, strengthening multilateralism for just global development and security. Now I will not teach you tricks. Why is BRICS and multiculturalism? There is inconsistency. So that is not correct. Okay, I am not going to teach you tricks like that. I am not going to teach you tricks that cannot be applicable. I will not teach you tricks that is not sustainable. I will never teach you tricks at all. Tricks will not work. Okay, so you will not know this unless you would have studied the theme very properly. Okay, majority of them will not know this. That is my assumption. So the third statement is wrong. So if you take the third statement as wrong, the correct answer is 1 and 2. So the answer for the 97th question is A, 1 and 2. Also, again to reinforce any issue that comes from international relations, for example, let us say if you're taking BRICS, the history of BRICS, the members, any declarations, and the recent summit. Look at this. Again, this is how we discuss the BIMSTEC also. This is how we should discuss the BRICS also. So any regional cooperation or any institution that you take, these are some of the dimensions that you should cover. So again, this acts as a reference point of how to study issues from international relations. So that's an important learning that you should take away. All right. Let us solve this question. Again, this question can be solved in both approaches. One, you can solve it with logic, or you can solve it with conceptual clarity. Let us first read out the question. Consider the following statements about Lokpal. Okay. The power of Lokpal applies to public servants of India, but not to the Indian public servants posted outside India. The moment you're reading that statement, you understood that something is wrong there. Let us come to the next one. The chairperson or a member shall not be a member of the parliament or a member of the legislature of any state or union territory, and only the Chief Justice of India, whether incumbent or retired, has to be its chairperson. Again, when you read this, don't you think that there is some problem? Only the Chief Justice of India, whether incumbent or retired, has to be the chairperson. Let us come to the next one. The chairperson or a member shall not be a person of less than 45 years of age on the date of assuming office as the chairperson or member, as the case may be. Now, if you look at this and this, these are mutually contradictory. If one is true, another cannot be true. Okay. So that is where you know that there is some friction here. Come to the next one. Lokpal cannot inquire into the allegations of the corruption against the sitting Prime Minister of India. This is a blanket immunity. Don't you think such blanket immunity you should know? Blanket immunity is provided to the president or the governor. It is not provided to the Prime Minister of India. Okay, you should know that. Anyways, coming back to logic, look at this. The power of Lokpal applies to public servants of India, but not to the Indian public servants posted outside India. So if there is someone who is a public servant in India, committed a crime or a corruption and then gone outside, then that corruption is now not being investigated by Lokpal. Don't you think that it is injustice? Don't you think that it is procedurally wrong? So first statement is wrong. So if you remove that first statement, which of the following are correct? One is definitely not correct. Okay. The chairperson or a member shall not be a member of the parliament or a member of the legislature of any state or union territory, and only the Chief Justice of India, whether incumbent or retired, has to be its chairperson. Again, this is too extreme the point. Allowing only Chief Justice of India to be the Chief Justice of India, whether incumbent or retired, will not provide the scope for the government to appoint regularly. Okay. Why? Because there is only a very small set of Chief Justices who have retired, or there is only one Chief Justice who is incumbent, who is already burdened with a lot of work. So with that logic, we can say that this is probably, again I am applying the principle of probability, and I can say that 2 is wrong. When 2 is wrong, even this is gone. Okay. Now let us keep this aside. Lokpal cannot inquire into the allegations of corruption against a sitting Prime Minister of India. Again, such blanket immunity is given only to President and Governor and not the Prime Minister of India. With that also I can say that even 4 is wrong. Okay. Coming to this statement, they can change this part definitely. But if you take all the offices, you have Lok Sabha at 25, Rajya Sabha at 30. So if you take 45, 45 is above all these offices. That means a very high chance that this can be correct. So with that logic, I can say that since they have given 3 only also, there is a probability that 3 only can be correct. Okay. Again, this is a far-fetched logic. So I can apply the logic and also understand that with that logic, I can come to that conclusion that 3 only is most probably correct. So that is how it is. So this is with respect to logic. Now let us come to conceptual clarity. So if you take conceptual clarity, you have the Lokpal and Lokayukta Act 2013. Okay, so according to Lokpal or Lokayukta Act 2013, it mainly looks into corruption of central level public servants. Okay, now these public servants can be in India also, they can be out of India also. Okay, that is one. So first statement is wrong. Okay, next, if you take this Lokpal and Lokayukta, who can be the chairperson? The chairperson should be either the CGI, sitting or retired, or he should have been the judge of Supreme Court. The last one is important. They can be also a person, eminent person. So because there is the scope of an eminent person becoming the chairperson of Lokpal, this age limit has been put. That is, if you are appointing any chairperson, then the chairperson should not be less than 45 years of age from the date of assuming office of chairperson or member. Okay. Now, this is the composition. The chairperson can be either CGI or a judge of the Supreme Court or any eminent person. Now, the Lokpal can investigate Prime Minister. Okay. There are two clauses here, safety clause. One, they cannot investigate on some matters. On some matters you cannot investigate. For example, it can be international relations, it can be security, it can be space, it can be atomic energy. So these are the things that you cannot investigate. The next, another safety clause is 2/3 of the total members of the Lokpal. 2/3 of the total members of the Lokpal should allow or should approve the initiation of investigation. Should approve the initiation of investigation. So this is what is the safety clause given to this, but they can investigate. It is not a blanket immunity. Okay, so this is through the conceptual clarity, I can deduce that this also is wrong, this also is wrong, this also is wrong, as well as, sorry, this third statement is correct and the fourth statement is wrong. So with that, you understand that which of the above statements are correct, 3 only is correct. So I have taught you how to use logic also, I have taught you how to use conceptual clarity also. The 98th question, the answer is A, 3 only. Okay, let us take this question. If you take the last 2 years, UPSC has been asking 1 or 2 questions on sports. That doesn't mean that you go and read in depth about all the sports of India, but just keep an eye of whatever recent sports and India's achievements is in those sports. For example, if you take this year, India has been achieving very good ranks in Paralympics. Paralympics took place in Delhi. So there also India's achievement was very good. The next is Deaflympics. If you take Deaflympics, even here also, the India's achievement was significant. The next is, if you take Kabaddi, if you take, India has won the World Championship of Kabaddi. Then if you take Sepak Takraw, this is a kind of sport. India has won the World Championship of Sepak Takraw. This happened in Bihar. And then cricket, women's blind cricket, Indian women's blind cricket has also won World Cup. So only read those things where India has achieved some significance. Okay, so these are some important events that has happened. So just have an eye of what was the score, which was, who were the opponent which India defeated, or how many medals did India win. These are some dimensions that you should work upon. However, these are some important sports news that has happened in the year, and this is how I'm providing you just reference point of how at the superficial level you should understand. You should not try to build depth, because sports is not a recurring theme. Don't try to build depth. Just make sure that you at the superficial level know what has happened in the last 1 year, especially with India's achievements in these particular sports. If some sport has happened where India has not participated, or some sports has happened where India has not won much medals or any championship, usually the questions will not come, so don't worry about it. Okay, so I hope you understood the flow. But let us look at this question again. This question is purely factual. You know or you don't know. There is no logic here. And I also will show you how UPSC will interchange the facts of 2 different statements. Look at this. Let's read out the question of 99. Consider the following statements with respect to the first Kho-Kho World Cup. Okay, the event was held in Delhi, India. Indian men beat Nepal with a score of 78-40 in the final to become the world champion in men category. Indian women beat Nepal with a score of 54-36 in the final to become the world championship in women category. Which of the following statements given above are correct? A, 1 only, B, 2 and 3 only, C, 1 and 3 only, D, 1, 2 and 3 only. Okay. Now look at this. I'm not teaching you any tricks, but I'm just telling you that usually they will, interchange this. That is what they have done. So the men category score is this. The women category score is this. Indian men have beaten Nepal. That is also correct. Indian women have beaten Nepal. That is also correct. But the scores they have interchanged. So 2 is wrong. If you remove 2, okay, this goes. 3 is wrong. If you remove 3, the answer is A, 1 only. Okay, that is the event was held in New Delhi. But overall, I am not telling that you should apply this logic. There is no logic here. I just told you that whenever there is a scope to interchange, be cautious. That is my advice. I am not trying to tell you that put that interchanging logic. It is not a logic. It is just an observation. That observation you should do. That is what I am trying to tell you. So apart from this, the answer here is A. There is nothing logic here. You should know or you don't know. But the learning from this question is this. You should prepare on whatever sports that is happening where India has achieved something significant. Okay. So for the 99th question, the answer is A, 1 only. Okay, let us do the last question of the question paper 2025, and I appreciate your commitment and your sincerity in seeing all these questions, but I also am sure that you have got to take a lot of learnings beyond the scope of the book that will help you clear prelims. Alright, let us read out this question. Again, this question comes under the theme of sports. I have already told you what exactly you should do for sports as a theme in the question paper, but overall we'll read this question, and for the sake of discussion, let us come to the answer. But here also there is no logic. You either know or you don't know, and for such questions you should not worry about it. Okay, let us read out the question. Consider the following statements. In the finals of the 45th Chess Olympiad held in 2024, Gukesh Dommaraju became the world's youngest winner after defeating the Russian player Ian Nepomniachtchi. Okay, next statement. Abhimanyu Mishra, an American chess player, holds the record of becoming world's youngest ever grandmaster. Okay, which of the statements given above are correct? A, 1 only, B, 2 only, C, both 1 and 2, and D, neither 1 nor 2. Okay, again, you either know or not know. What UPSC has done is, see, these are different variables, A, B and C. These are the variables that UPSC can change. So they have changed this variable. Okay, this is wrong. So here the first statement is wrong. Abhimanyu Mishra, an American chess player, holds the record for becoming world's youngest ever grandmaster. This is true. So here the option which of the above statements are correct. The answer is B. Again, there is nothing to take away from this question. You either know or not know. But these are the questions that you should not worry about, because the success for you in prelims is not in these questions. The success in prelims is with respect to basic questions and with respect to those questions where you can apply logic and common sense to deduce the answer. And if you can do that, you can easily get 10 marks more than the cutoff any year of the prelims paper. So always understand the rule. If you can understand and if you can get the basic questions right and the simple questions right, you will get the cutoff marks. So you should not worry about such questions. So that is the most important foundational level clarity that you should take away from this learning of the DECODE Prelims Previous Year Question 2025. Okay guys, so we have successfully finished all the questions, trying to discuss in detail and providing you different approaches to solve those questions beyond the scope of any books. If you have seen every question, I hope that by now you would have got the confidence to clear prelims. You got the confidence that it is not only about the books that you read, it is not only about the facts that you know, it is also about the skills that you can apply to deduce the answer. If you have got that clarity, that means that my job is done. And if you have got that clarity, that means you'll surely go ahead and crack the upcoming prelims 2026. We have worked day in and day out to bring this program to my students community across India. A small gesture of gratitude would be to please share this video with your friends and with your fellow aspirants, because that matters to us, and that is what will keep us incentivized to bring such innovative programs to help you crack this exam. So please guys, a small request is to share this video with as many people as possible. Thank you so much for the love and support. I'll see you again with another innovative program. Thank you for tuning in to DECODE Prelims Previous Year Question 2025.